Hi, I was just watching Rick's actual play, his Castles and Crusades session. I didn't watch all of it, but I saw enough in order to provide some advice. Rick has invited me. When it comes to sharing my thoughts, he said go ahead and criticize my sessions because Rick is interested in improving as a role player. And I saw some moments of brilliance that were not kept up later on. So I think that if Rick focuses on those moments of brilliance, he will improve tremendously. But I need to point out what went wrong. It started out great, and I have to say that Spence, he was playing Steve. He has improved incredibly. I actually, in that moment, I actually thought, wow, it would be great to have Spence in a game. That's what I thought, right then and there. It would be great to have Spence in a game. Rick was describing things. He was not having a conversation with the players. He was the game master, the castle master, whatever it is called in Castles and Crusades. He was not there. His voice was the description of the world. However, this could be considered a nitpick. Imagine any of my sessions where I am describing things to the players. Imagine if I were just to toss a picture and you arrived here. It's not as magical as when the players come up with their own mental images. Many of you have been in my games. Rick, you have been in my game. Compare when you are imagining what I am describing to when someone is showing you a picture. The moment I saw that picture, it felt slightly like a bit cartoony or comic booky. Even if you were to go towards that route, if you were to play like a tabletop role-playing game where you're supposed to be like comic book superheroes, it's much better for the players to paint their own image, but you like using images, probably. Or maybe you don't like describing scenes too much. I would still, that is in my opinion, I would focus rather on describing the different sites, but like I said, maybe you like using images, go for it. Just think about which feels more immersive. But here is the real problem. Two problems actually. I would say this is funny. This is funny. And like I said, I didn't watch the entire actual play. But I think that the best role player in that session was Spence. You could be thinking, what? The game master? What about the game? I don't know the name of this player. He was participating as two-player characters, Ember and Dash. Now, it gave me the impression, I don't want to be, I don't think they will consider this an insult because they have admitted openly that some people in their group, sometimes they smoke one, if you know what I mean. Or rather, right? It seemed to me that he had just finished smoking one because sometimes he was laughing out of character to things that were not funny. Rick said something like, and this character walks in front, and this Ember guy. and he always, I don't know why that is, but he always has the camera in the most awkward angle. Everyone has the camera showing their face, their body, right? But he kind of like has it like this, and he's showing like half of his, always like this. Very weird. It looks very distracting, you know, half of the face. So okay, putting aside that, I thought, well, maybe he placed his camera in a very weird way for the, I don't know how many times I've seen him in Traveler. If he's the same guy, I have seen him placing his camera in the same awkward angle where only half of your face is appearing. But also he kind of like when he's talking, he always moves in a very weird way. He seems a bit like he cannot sit still, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to understand what he's saying. So let's say that I want to say, I climb up the stairs, and he's like, yeah, Ember, climb up the stairs. Okay. So it's very weird, and it's difficult for the game master. Game master has to. You can see Rick constantly asking, "Was that Ash or was that Ember?" If you're controlling more than one player character, make sure that you say, "As Ember, I say this. As Ash, I say this. Ash speaks. Ember speaks. Ember does this. Ash does that." And here comes the major problem. Ember will. Ash is gonna. Ember will. Ash is gonna. Completely outside of the present. At the moment the Ember and Ash started to do that, immersion was shattered. And you can see it in Rick's roleplay. Why? First, Rick, do not fear. Do not fear punishing the out of contract actions or misbehavior. From the very start, you said, we are in character, right? Kept going out of character, out of the present. You know, you have seen my videos, you have heard me, you have played in my games, Rick. Whenever a player goes, I will, you were thinking of doing just that and you missed your turn. You hesitated and this happened. As long as you do not punish those actions that are a breach of the social contract or the roleplay, because you are out of the present, you are entering the wish fulfillment. Thinking about the future, thinking about what your character is going to do in the future instead of role-playing in the present. As long as you do not punish those things, the players will keep on doing it. Take a look at Kevin. Kevin, I know maybe you're watching this video. You know that you have improved throughout your sessions, but I need to use this example. When Kevin first started to play in the first session of the gratuitous anime gimmick role-playing game, constantly, I started to punish that. You missed your turn. You were thinking of doing just that. You were under some sort of mind control because you were not thinking in the present. He started to eliminate that bad habit, that non-roleplay habit. And he started to roleplay in the present. That's how you fix everything in any sort of skill set, any sort of anything, any activity. When you are playing baseball with someone, and someone is, instead of using the bat, decides of grabbing a baseball mitt and just starts to slap the ball, and you say, oh, well, yeah, that counts as using the bat. No, you're playing baseball. If someone is playing football and suddenly picks up or soccer rather, if someone is playing soccer and picks up the ball as if it were football, American football, that's invalid, right? So, Ember and Ash, there is no difficulty whatsoever in saying, Ember walks towards the door. Ash lights up the torch. No reason whatsoever to be Ash is gonna, Ember will. The moment they did that, Rick, you did nothing. The moment the player did that, you did nothing to say, hey, social contract, roleplay in the present, now. And you can see the effect it had on you, Rick. I have talked about this in another video, the domino effect. So you were describing things so perfectly at the start. Description, pure description. And then, so you kind of see the moment he went out of he broke immersion. The moment the Ember and Ash player shattered the immersion created through roleplay, you immediately, instead of being the game master, you became another person. in the game. The game master, like in the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, the bald little guy walking alongside, and you kind of like see, it kind of like this. It's kind of like you stop describing things and everything because you didn't address that non-roleplay issue. I am saying this so that you can improve, to polish things. Nobody is perfect. Just remember, yesterday in our session, we were talking about, oh, this could have been better, right? And even after we stopped recording, we were like, we can improve combat by saying this, right? Finer points. So in this case, Rick, these are the fundamentals of roleplay. Do not let your players to go wander into the future. They are playing a role, playing in the present, playing. They will not be playing, they will not be role playing. They are not gonna role play. They are playing a role. They are role playing the present. And that way, you won't let that have an effect on your own way of running the game. Because just look at it, the evidence is there. Take a look at your actual play. The moment you allowed that, it immediately had a repercussion upon you. And from pure description, you were suddenly, you kind of like, it's kind of like this thing, kind of like, yeah, so I was telling you, kind of like, so I think that covers everything. This is in order to improve. There are mediocre people that just want to keep on they don't know what they are doing. They cannot tell the difference between role playing and acting and watching a movie or telling a story or reading a comic book or listening to a radio show. They don't understand the difference. They haven't experienced immersion. They think they have not, or in the best of cases they have caught a glimpse of it. They are at the threshold, perhaps. But I know, Rick, that you like to improve. And as a player, I have seen you constantly role-playing, I would say almost flawless. Except for that one time when you said, I'm gonna, but... So, only the game master part. If you manage to address that, Rick, those moments, I was really pulled into the game at the start. The description, and Spence, wow, that's amazing. I didn't watch the entire actual play, but I hope Spence kept on role-playing like that. In the present, in the now, in character. Amazing, Spence, amazing. But, I don't even know his name, but the Ember and Ash, I will, and never saying, as Ash I say, as Ember I say, or Ember does this, Ash attempts this. And really, I don't know if he was sober, because the first time he was laughing, and he started to go out of character later on. You told him at the start, in character, and oh, that's not good. Yeah, that was a bit weird. But okay, I'm very blunt, and I'm very strict. I love roleplay. Actual roleplay. Not telling a story, not acting, not having a conversation, not Mother May I. This is roleplay. The original Dave Arneson idea. And Rick, at first, you had it. Just focus on that. And all of your sessions are going to be amazing. I've never finished watching your Traveler sessions because they are so... The first thing that I thought of a defect in those sessions, or I talked about this when you invited us to critique your game, was that you didn't specify the locations quite well, and the players, they were not really describing their actions correctly, their position, etc. But in this case, the first thing that I thought, and just take a look at the chat log, I was chatting alone in the room, I was saying, no, Rick, no. The first time I said, wow, this is Rick's best session so far. But then Ash will, and then you kind of like... So, great start. Things didn't go as planned later on, but definitely focus on that start. So yes, thanks to everyone who is watching, who watched this video. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.